count it down, please.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Number 2.
Yeah, welcome back to Yin and Yes.
Hopefully somebody saw number 1 and thought it was good enough to watch more.
To return. I made us some gin and tonics today. Thanks to Brock's recipe. Our son-in-law taught us how to make gin and tonics, so we thank him.
He taught me, and then she's guessing. We'll see how good it is.
I think they're pretty good.
They're damn red.
If I do say so myself. And you're wearing blue. I mean, how much more symbolic can we
I
get?
have a lot of blue shirts.
I know. You're wearing the correct, right color. How do we think about my gin and tonic? What do you think?
We'll see in a few minutes if it engages.
Yeah, Jen likes gin. It's quite tasty.
Maybe we should talk about the episode.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
This is, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Oh, no. I won't do that.
We're going to visit that later here.
Okay.
Looky there.
Alrighty. So you got some pictures up here.
Yeah.
And I know let's just preface this. I do not know the pictures that you put up beforehand. These last 2 episodes, I have not known what you're going to pick.
So we're getting a genuine reaction from Jen.
A genuine reaction from me.
Genuine Jen coming up. Okay, so this episode is likely to touch a nerve.
Okay.
Because we're going to go into some deep things.
This is pretty deep. Parenthood.
But first, let us just kind of enjoy our first picture as a family.
Yes. Look at that face.
I was very handsome, wasn't I?
Look at that face.
All right, so this is going to cover a couple of things. We're going to finish 1992 and go through all of 1993.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a gentleman named Tony Ellis.
Okay.
Our engagement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pregnancy. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And Jessica's birthday. If you're lucky, that's what happens at the end of pregnancy. See, the gin and tonic is starting. So, Tony Ellis. Tell me.
That's a good picture.
That is a good picture. He's a handsome guy.
That's probably taken in the 80s. That's a really good picture of him.
Okay. Tell us who Tony Ellis is.
Tony was my uncle. He was my dad's only brother. And he was a lot of fun, you know, as uncles go. And he would, he had 3 kids, and it was me and my brother. So he would do all these, that was when the WWE or WWF, as it was back then, was around. So we would do all these, we would become like Randy Macho Man Savage, and we would do like all these wrestling matches, and he'd have these fun voices, and he was always singing songs like Phil Collins, and yeah, so it was just a lot of fun. He always made every interaction at my grandma's house like super fun.
So he was a fun guy.
He was a fun guy to a young kid, that what I could see externally from the outside.
That's a really good way to put it.
He was masking a lot of pain.
Now, I want to add, I kind of knew Tony because I happened to live across the street from him.
Ironically, coincidentally, yes.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a sec. Since we put this in our 1992 episode, what happened?
Tony he struggled through young adulthood, his early 20s, and he died at 42. He took his life. He struggled a lot with like bipolar disorder, and he was just in a lot of pain. So a lot of people, mask that with trying to be the life of the party. And so as a young kid, I saw him do that. He made everybody laugh, and inside he was probably, crying and very, hopeless and struggling.
That's pretty tragic.
Yeah. So you lived across the street from him, and so I was there the day that they found him. We both were. Yeah, you probably remember that day, just like I do.
I do. It was fall, right?
It's winter.
Winter.
I'm a savant with dates, remember?
Yeah. Oh, I stand corrected. It was winter time. We were across the street and we noticed a lot of activity, first responder activity across the street.
It was the day before your birthday.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He died right before Christmas. Christmas is a rough time for people with mental illness.
If you can, keep going with that story. That day, December 9th.
We noticed a fire truck and a lot of activity over there, and so we became concerned, and I called my grandmother. And my grandmother suffered from bipolar manic depression as well. This is on my paternal side, and she had had an episode a few years before that when I was 11, and it involved me, and she left me in Muncie, Indiana. So she was not stable, but I called her because I was wondering what was going on at Tony's house. And I said, "Is there a fire? Did he have a kitchen fire or something?" And all she knew is that my grandpa had been called to the house, and she was frantic and in a way that only a mother can. I knew that she was grasping for some hope. I think she kind of knew that it was going to be very, very tragic. And she asked me if I saw a coroner's car. And I said, I stood in the window at your house, and I didn't at first see a coroner's car. She kept asking me, "What do you see? What do you see, Jenny?" And I was 15, and I saw the coroner's car around the corner as she asked me the second time. And I knew what that meant, but I didn't have the heart to tell her because I knew she was alone. She struggles. And I don't know how I had the emotional IQ not to just blurt it out, but I just gave her, 45 minutes of hope.
That's a big ask for a 15-year-old.
Yes. And so later, I came to realize how precious that hope is. So mental illness has dominated, just like it's dominated a lot of people's lives. It's dominated my childhood and my upbringing. Just you've had mental illness on your side of the family as well. So, and I swore that I would try to do better with my family. Like I would somehow, my experience with my grandmother in Muncie leaving me there and having a manic episode, and then Tony's suicide made me believe that I could somehow create a shield against it if I just tried hard enough, if I just worked hard enough at it.
That's a really good explanation, and you've already answered my next few questions.
Okay.
Thank you for going deep into that. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of those details too. I remember how we went outside and we intercepted your grandpa, and he walked up to us and told us the bad news.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't remember if I called her or if your mom called me, but I had to tell her over the phone what happened.
You called my mom?
I was on the phone with her. I don't know who called who, but I remember sharing that news.
Mm-hmm. And my dad worked on different job sites, and this was the early 90s, so it's not like you're reachable via cell, you don't have a computer in your pocket. So mom probably knew that, she was going to have to deliver that news to my dad. And I was there when that happened, and that was very hard.
as a shitty day.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the mental health, and it's gonna play a role
Yeah.
from
That's a
then.
very impactful memory for me.
I can see that.
Coincidentally, that you lived across the street and everything that entailed, but being there, seeing my grandpa come out of the house, that's a whole other story. I feel like, I learned later that Tony had asked to move back in with them. Like 4 or 5 days before, he'd asked my grandma and grandpa to move back in with them, and my grandpa told him no. So I feel like your same-sex parent is your most powerful role model. And in the 60s, when my grandma was hospitalized and they took her driver's license and pretty much like her freedom, I, back then you just rub some dirt on it. You just buck up and pull yourself up and you get a job, Tony. And, you got some toxic masculinity going on there because you want a father and a son. I think he just wanted him to buck up and start living the way that, males were supposed to live.
Was Tony the oldest?
Tony was the oldest. My dad's
So
the youngest.
So he had that, I don't want to say burden, but he had that responsibility of being the big brother. And your dad put on him the expectation of being the big brother. Would you agree?
I don't think there was an expectation placed on. I think he and my dad were close.
Yeah.
They were close their whole lives because there was only like 3 years, no, maybe 4 or 5 years difference. I think Tony was born in 49. My dad was born in 53. So 3 or 4 years difference.
I'm going to believe you're accurate.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah. I feel like there's a few things that if they were in place, he would be alive today. If my grandpa would have been more kind and if mental illness were better understood and helped, that would have kept him alive. I think if he could have lived in a group home or something or had some sort of purpose-driven life in a group home or with others, I think he could be alive today.
He had a lot to live for.
So, yeah, it is tragic.
Thank you. Let's talk about our engagement. Anyway, that finishes 1992.
Wow, you're just really going from one extreme to the next, aren't you?
Well, I'm
going to have to take a drink.
Take a break, take a drink, take a breath. Blow it out. Not much to say. Our engagement, other than we were actually engaged before getting pregnant. I bet a lot of people mistake that about us.
Yeah, you proposed to me on our 1-year anniversary. It was our 1-year anniversary. You remember, right?
Of course I do. I was there.
And you proposed to me at McCutcheonville Ballpark. And you put my ring in a tackle box. I don't know what that was for because we don't fish and I have no idea.
I don't think it's necessary to share that.
It was just a funny joke.
Horrible.
Okay, yeah, you would do better now. Like if you had to do it over again, right? Like if we had to do vows like 3.0, or you would do better, right?
You probably, but you're the one with the low standards to say, yeah, I'll do it.
I mean, what? I was 16. I don't know.
That's all I got for the engagement.
Okay.
How about that, young lady?
Right into it. Okay, yeah, we did everything ass backwards, folks. Yeah. This was 1993. So
tell us how hard teen pregnancy is.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But I was in school at the time. I was a sophomore. Yeah, Jessica she was born my junior year of high school. It was a difficult decision to make.
Well, before we get to that part, there's a sequence of events. You find out you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to tell people.
Yeah.
Do you remember how your family received that information?
Yeah, my mom was like a super sleuth, and she found out, or she saw like a cardboard insert thing in the trash can, like that came out of the inside of a pregnancy test box. And then she confronted me that, when she went to the store, she didn't think that she had bought that I asked her to buy any tampons this past grocery shopping trip, and then she found this cardboard insert thing in the trash. Anyway, she confronted me, and we had planned to tell our parents. I believe I found out I was pregnant in April of 93. And when we I mean, I think we found out like on a Thursday or Friday, I think. And I thought, well, we'll wait the weekend. We had some plans. We were going to meet some friends. And I thought, well, I think we should do it Sunday night or Monday. And then they confronted us like Friday or
Well,
Saturday.
I don't remember any of those.
Really? I'm a
tentative plans.
savant with dates. I told you I'm a savant
All
with
right,
dates.
keep going.
And so mom confronted me as I was getting ready to leave the house, and I was going to go pick you up, and we were going to meet these friends. It's Friday night, I think. It's a Friday night. It's not how you really want to spend your Friday night.
So can I correct you on one
Yeah.
thing? I remember we were going to get together, but I had ordered a pizza to be delivered to my house.
Yes. Papa John's, I believe.
Yeah. The shittiest pizza you can get. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have heart issues back then yet.
If you think that Papa John's pizza gives you heart issues, oh my God.
Well, I ordered a pizza, and then you called me after
Yes.
you had gotten busted. And all you said, get over here.
Yeah, like I need you to be over here.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, that wasn't a...
Had you told your parents by then?
I don't think so, but I remember thinking selfishly, but damn, I've got a pizza on the way. I was hoping to eat before I hooked up with you.
I think I told you I'd bring it. I think I said just bring it with you.
Maybe so. I do remember grabbing the pizza on the porch and getting in the car, getting to your house, and I didn't have one damn bite of that pizza.
No.
I think your dad ate that whole goddamn pizza.
With some Grippos.
Who am I to
With some
say?
Grippos. That dude probably ate that whole pizza.
Who am I to say, hey, save me some?
Yeah. Well, so that's another key point is literally when I say I was almost out the door, I was almost out the door. You know how my house was set up? Yeah. Almost out the door. And she asked me these questions and I couldn't lie, because here we had planned like 2 days later, we're going to tell him. My dad was sitting in a chair right beside the door where I was trying to get out. And my mom was on the other side of the room in a recliner. And so I just stopped, and I think it was probably written all over my face, and I fessed up, and my dad was reading the newspaper, and he just peeled the side of the newspaper down, and he looked up at me, and he's like, you really fucked up, Jen. And he just went back to reading his paper. Like, that sticks out of my mind because it's comical, but yet so, like, my dad. But yeah, you're probably right. He did eat that whole pizza and with Grippos and was stress eating when we were talking it through. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, I guess I was lucky. I didn't get beat up.
Yeah, he's just gonna, talk you through the logistics of how you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, we're so I think we were both in school. You were still in high school.
Yeah.
I was half-assing my way through college.
Yeah, you didn't really do much in college.
Like I said, I was half-assing it.
Yeah. And
then, I figured out, we all agreed, I need to work a little harder, a little more.
Well, I think I think we would be not transparent if we did not think about our options, because I did think about my options. And this is where it can get, I guess, a little political or controversial.
I think I know where you're going.
Yes.
Can we save that part for later?
Okay, I can't talk about it now, or I can't touch on it now.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Um, because yes, there was I was a straight A student pretty much, and I could have gone to college. I could have all that was in my foreseeable future. And but there was only two options, feasible options from my point of view. And this is where I would debate anybody on the abortion issue, is only abortion and having that baby were the only two options in my mind that I was going to consider. Adoption was not one of them. There's no scenario in this world where I could imagine walking down in downtown Evansville or in Henderson, Kentucky, or wherever it might be, and seeing a curly-headed, red-headed mini me staring me back in the face and wondering, I wonder if that's her. It wasn't an option, because that is too painful. It was either going to be wiping the slate clean and moving on to my future that I had planned, or it was going to be doing this to the best of my ability.
Well said. And we'll probably circle back to that in a little bit. So it's springtime, you're pregnant. Now it's time to, have a summer in between grades. Most people didn't know you were pregnant until you returned to school in the fall.
I didn't really start showing until about 5 or 6 months.
We weren't living together yet.
No, we didn't start living together until the fall, right?
That's right. For basically financial and insurance reasons.
Yeah, those were the good old days, man. I was on my mom's insurance. That was like a 90-10 or 100% coverage plan. Yeah, those were good, right? Good health insurance HMO days. Yeah.
So that's a hella ride. A lot of people looking at us like, well, you're gonna have a baby. Why don't you live together? Are you splitting up?
Who did that?
Are you gonna? I'm just assuming people that are saying like, why aren't they living together?
You know what they say about assuming, though.
This is a family show.
But I'm just trying. Okay.
You're right. You're right. But
okay.
We're thinking all the sides. We're trying to think all this. It's hard. It's scary. We're both crazy young, on our way to becoming parents way too soon.
Were you scared?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was not.
Yes, you were.
Is that wrong? No, I truly wasn't.
Look, I think you can
I truly wasn't.
Until
until I was pregnant with Jolie.
I think you can be very brave and very scared at the same time.
Okay. I think I was naive brave. Like I wasn't scared. I should have been more scared than I was.
Well, let's just talk.
I think it was more about proving people wrong.
Maybe you were stubborn. Maybe we were both too immature to know
definitely
how hard this is about to get.
Yeah, it's about to get real quick.
Yeah, because at the time, I wasn't making money for a family.
Oh no,
I was living in a trailer.
You were working at Allied Sporting Goods. I don't know how much you made, minimum wage?
Yes.
Yeah. And remember the fight that my mom got in a fight with you? Like, because literally, like, there was a moment where, there was a couple moments on my part, and I'm not going to lie. When I made that decision, like, do I have an abortion or do I keep this baby? You are a great man, and I love you a lot then, and I do now. But you always had a ticket out. You may not have thought you did, but society would have given you a ticket out. Gone. So I had to realize if I do this, there is a possibility I could have to do this all myself. And I was going to have to be okay with that. And I was. And you didn't get a job until the day I gave birth, or that I came home from the hospital. Like, you did not have a full-time job. And there was a point at which, I'm going to say like November-ish, I think you and my mom got in some kind of tiff. Because my mom was scared, like, oh, the shit is getting real and he doesn't have a full-time job yet.
She was right.
And I can't remember. I don't know if she called you on being too picky or what the deal was, but she dredged up some things that were said on that first night with the Papa John's pizza, and it made me, it sent me into tears, and yeah.
She was doing the right thing. And yeah, everybody observed that I was slow to finally land something useful.
It was my teacher's husband who gave you a job cleaning carpets.
I'll never forget that guy.
He was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Haller was a good teacher.
Yep. I was thankful for that guy.
Yeah. And I was thankful for Miss Haller.
She was born on the 4th, and I started working for him on the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And on the very first morning, he brought a present to give to our baby daughter.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I mean, I was in Mrs. Haller's class, like journalism class. So she knew I was pregnant with Jessica. She was a young teacher at North High School.
So he offered me a $5 an hour job, 0 benefits. Couldn't even guarantee steady work, but it was work. And I accepted the offer. And when the first time I met him, I wore a Cubs jacket, and he said, "I'm going to hold that against you."
Because he was a Cardinals fan, right?
He was a Cardinals fan.
That's a strike against you. I'm trying to think. No, you made $5 an hour. I'll never forget. Every paycheck you brought home like $296 a week.
I don't think it was that high.
$276, and then it went up to like $296. I just
Maybe.
remember that was when a Papa John's pizza like cost $5, and we would get a Papa John's pizza every Friday when you got paid, and that was the only eating out specialty luxury item that we ever bought.
I think we moved in together in like a 51-foot long mobile home.
Oh yeah, that was the worst, wasn't it?
That was ours.
But yeah,
We lived there together for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we had a baby.
yeah, we moved in like in November-ish, like maybe before Thanksgiving. It was before Thanksgiving. It was like early November, mid-November that we moved in there and got her room ready. And yeah, because she was due on Christmas
There's
Eve.
her room right there.
Yeah, she was actually due on Christmas Eve, but she was born early in December.
See the paneling?
Yeah, almost a trailer
Look
park.
at you. You seem to be a very healthy pregnant young lady. And there we were, the morning of Jessica's birth. Let's talk about Jessica.
Okay. Well, you don't be putting up her name and stuff. That could be like identity theft.
She's changed her name since then.
Okay, that's okay. You got to think about this stuff. Okay.
I'll change it in post-editing. How's
Okay.
that? So we were, let's see, this was right before our birthdays.
Yes.
This was less than a week before my 20th birthday,
And I was not quite 17.
almost 17. Living in a shitty mobile home,
With that baby.
and I was just starting a full-time job. That was hard.
It was hard. Now, one of the things that I want to ask you is, shortly after Jessica was born, like, because you were working full time, my dad was a union guy, so he was laid off periodically throughout like the years and stuff. And he happened to be laid off for a few months after Jessica was born. And so he took me like downtown to apply for food stamps. He took me downtown to get her on Medicaid because my hospital bill was covered through my mom's insurance because I was still a minor. But her medical insurance, she didn't have any.
Was there a question?
There's a question here. Yes, give me a moment. We had to apply for food stamps, and my dad's, and I kind of felt a little ashamed about that. I think because you projected onto me a little bit of shame. Do you agree with that? Or did you get food stamps when you were a kid, I guess, is my question.
We may have received some type of assistance, but I don't remember what it was. And I never felt ashamed. I may have projected something onto you, but I was never ashamed of us.
I just remember being in the car with my dad and saying something like that, like Jay wants to work for it, or like I don't know if I should get on this assistance. And my dad literally, well, he didn't pull the car over, but I remember him looking at me and saying, Jen, this is why I pay my tax dollars. And you do not feel bad at all for going here and getting this assistance. I just remember him specifically saying that. And then, then it was okay. It was like I had the two men in my life with different views of what we were doing. And so then, I was the one that went down every month and stood in line with a baby and got the food stamps. That's when you actually had the checks, you got it doled out. And, she was on WIC, we were on WIC vouchers and all that. And I don't remember you going to the store very often with me when we did the food stamps. Were you ashamed of that aspect?
I was probably working when you did those errands. And was I ashamed? I don't think I was smart enough to even be ashamed. I just remember soon after finding out I'm going to be a dad, I had something else to actually focus on. All of a sudden, I didn't matter so much. All of a sudden, I had people depending on me. And everything I had learned up to my 20th year.
20, yeah.
That's all I've got. That's all I have to feed on, to think with, to take care of this young family. That's
So
all I had.
Scared. Were you scared?
I was focused. Nobody gives a damn what the father of a teen mom thinks. The only thing he needs to be doing is working his butt off.
Well, according to you. But like I said earlier, you have the past. You did have a past. That may not have been an option to you, and it's very noble, but you did have a past.
And according to me, I only had the education of a white trash kid that was 19 years old. There's no school. There's no class in high school to say, hey, if you get a girl pregnant, here's some guidelines. All I knew was, okay, selfish time is over. You got some things to prove, young man. People are watching. So if you saw something or thought of something while you were doing the dirty work of applying for WIC and food stamps, you may be correct. My excuse is I was trying to provide. I didn't know any better.
You did provide, and you also paid into the tax system, and my dad paid into the tax system that was able to give us that $190 a month that we got in food stamps. It wasn't like a whole lot, but we did get something. And Jessica got Medicaid, and her hospital bill was covered.
Can you remember how awesome we felt the day we thought we could afford cable TV?
I vaguely remember that. Was that in the trailer or the
Yeah.
duplex? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
We're probably
let's
running long.
we are. That's okay. Let's show some pretty
Yeah, I'm
pictures.
really tired there.
That's-
But but to me, what really stands out to me is her little eyeballs looking at me.
It's a good picture.
That's what gets me.
My two girls.
Yeah. So yeah, that night she was born, I remember like having them bring her to me in the middle of the night, and that's where I made the promise, kind of like, I didn't know where this was going. We weren't married yet, so we did everything ass backwards. When I say that, I really mean it. We weren't married yet. We didn't get married until June of '94, and so you still had the skate out pass, so I had to make a promise to her that I was going to do this. I'm not going to like chase after you. If you wanted to go, you're going to freaking go. And my priority is her. So that was a bonding moment.
We are all glad you did that. You did a good job.
Look at her little eyeballs.
Now I wanted to revisit this part. Tell us about that.
What do you mean?
We're going to put an album or a song title in every episode. Tell us the importance of that song title.
Well, we were going through song titles a few days ago, and I listened to Meatloaf a lot, even though my brother gives me a lot of shit about it. I don't know why, but
he's hard to please.
Yeah, he's hard to please music-wise. But I listened to that song a lot, and it's a very long song, but it kind of ties into what I said earlier with my little talk with Jessica.
All right, let me recap. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. What is that?
I won't sacrifice my values, and I won't sacrifice myself.
Damn, that's savage. I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. So, and I couldn't have an abortion because it wasn't for me.
I don't think I've ever even heard you say that.
That I couldn't have an abortion?
I
want to have the choice. I want to have the choice.
I understand that.
To pursue this or pursue that.
I don't think in 31 years, we never even had the conversation, I don't think. Abortion or no. I don't think we even talked about it.
I probably didn't.
I didn't have the guts to ask you about it.
Were you thinking it?
No.
Really? Okay. I was.
I'll correct myself. Of course I did, and it lasted less than half a second. Because I'm trying, I like to be thorough in my decision making. Okay, I approached it, and I made my decision. Support the girl.
I thought about it a lot on my own. This path or this path. And Jessica knows all this too, which a lot of people give me shit for. I remember talking about it with a friend when I worked at the bank at Fort Campbell, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you've openly talked about that." Almost like it's like just so freaking wrong for you to even have tossed around the choice in your mind. And I don't agree with that. I think that if you corner somebody if you back them into a corner and you give them no options, that's not a good place to be, because then people get desperate. I want the choice presented to me, and I will fight for a woman's choice. It just was not the choice for me. Probably because I'm too damn stubborn and because people thought, well, maybe she would take the easy way out. And I wanted to prove them wrong. Maybe by sheer stubbornness or the challenge of it.
If that's what you had to burn on as a 16-year-old, that's enough.
Yeah, and I just, you know, I thought I can do this. I really think I can do this. So
I feel like
I'm
I
gonna
should
try
high
to-
five you right now. Is that appropriate?
Let's just drink. Let's just toast.
I have been.
I haven't drank as
Good
much
job.
as you.
Well, you've been talking more than me.
I guess so. Is there another picture, or is this the last one?
You want to know what? That's it, dude.
That's it.
That's it. That's episode
Okay.
2.
So say we all.
So say we all. We could say, welcome to Yazcore.
That's a little Yazcore history.